Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining our webinar today. Our webinar today will be discussing the questions of automatic classification and how Artsyl docAlpha can help achieving this goal and reducing the manual labor typically involved in documents pre-sorting, preparation, and classification in organizations. Our agenda today, we will start from today's challenges of documents preparation, the pre-sorting, classification, separation, typical for organizations dealing with documents coming in by paper. Then we'll have a look on Artsyl's docAlpha, what it can do, and specifically how it can help with automating the classification. Following that, we'll have a live demo, and in that demo, we'll run some documents with many types through the system, letting docAlpha do the automatic classification, and then we'll review the results in that live demo to see why the classification classified the document this way, and we'll see how it can help an operator understand the results of classification. Then we'll discuss a little bit the front-end and back-end connectivity of the docAlpha, and address the return of investment calculation, specifically talking about classification job calculation of return of investment. Finally, we'll do a quick question and answer section to answer any questions that you might have. Today, through an organization, there's a countless amount of various paper documents flowing every day. And typically, those documents come in a variety and without sorting, and they may have the document types that need to be processed together, or they may have to be separated and sent to several different departments to be processing. Both of those tasks appear in an organization every day, and both of them without automation would require a manual, tedious processing of somebody taking those folders apart, going through all of the paper documents, putting them to different stacks, and then supplying them to the proper departments, or stacking them back together to form proper folders. In some cases, it could be called a case or a mortgage application, depending on an industry. There might be other applications where it's important to know the identity of each member document inside the paper folder. The solution to that can be Artsyl docAlpha. That's the one that we'll be reviewing today. It offers a solution because it enables to do automatic classification. And the classification completely eliminates the need for pre-sorting and manual separation process. The separation process today mostly is done through the page separators insertion prior to scanning. And docAlpha can address that as well. docAlpha supports the separation pages if that is how you separate your document, but docAlpha also offers you the advanced separation mechanism based on the document identity that allows you to not have to insert the separation pages and even further reduce the job. Typical workflow is a meant image. So you have a stack of paper gets scanned without any manual pre-sorting or separator pages inserting into docAlpha. docAlpha on its recognition station, which is running on the back end, on the server end, is doing the recognition, classification, and batch splitting to multi-page documents. So the documents are identified, sorted, classified, and processed automatically based on their document identity detected by that station. Some key benefits of docAlpha system. docAlpha operates fully automatically. It can be run entirely on the server end in case you don't have to do the review of the documents. It also allows you to include an operator for review into your processing workflows to see the results of automatic classification and extraction. It can process any document type. You can extend it to use in other departments, no matter what was the initial department for which you purchased the system. It runs as a distributed network capture, so you can have many stations collaborating and sharing the workload of your operation. It allows also remote distributed mode. So some of your scanning centers might be remote in the branches. Some of your verification operators can be also working from branches or even from home. That allows you to distribute it geographically in the most efficient way for your organizational needs. It's very flexible. It allows you to process the machine print, the hand print, the check mark, the bubbles, the barcodes, so all kind of printed information and hand-printed information on the forms. It also allows you to process all kinds of documents, fixed forms, semi-structured documents, and that gives you ability to use one system to meet all of your organizational capture and classification needs. It includes a self-learning capability, and that increases its usability in the cases where you don't know what kind of documents you will be getting, and you don't want to be coming back to the drawing board every time there's a new document kind coming to the system. And you can learn those additional document types by turning on auto-find and letting the system watch the operator steps. When operator manually classifies them, then remember those steps, remember those hints, and then do it next time automatically based on the feedback from that operator. Scalability. The system can install on one notebook. That's in fact what I'm using for this demo. And it can scale up and be extended to meet very serious volumes because all of the licenses are concurrent, so you can move out any of the station to a dedicated machine at any point. And then you can also add additional machines of any kind to the system, be it a recognition station or a verification station or an extra quality control station. The automatic classification is a key feature in docAlpha. It reduces your original labor investment in pre-sorting, separation, and classification labor. And I'll have a separate slide discussing the classification details and benefits of docAlpha. Recognition independence of docAlpha is another unique feature because this product can work with different OCR and ICR engines. So if you're in a region or a world where one OCR vendor can deliver higher accuracy compared to another one, we can actually ship docAlpha with a different engine specifically fit for that region. There is a centralized administration of everything. The centralized administration allows you to deploy it in one or more offices, but still control it tightly from a single location with the central administration. And you can use such industry standard approaches as Active Directory authentication, as multi-user concurrent monitoring, and other tricks. Now let's concentrate on some benefits that docAlpha brings specifically to document classification. Well, first of all, it allows you to do multi-level classification, which is a very natural way to set up your classification process. So on a high level, for example, I might have 3 document classes. It's a contract, it's an application, and it's a confirmation letter. But then down the road, within those 3 major classes, I might have additional subclasses. So a contract may be a contract for original term or maybe just a prolongation. So I can further split my classes with additional details and build them based on my base classes, which allows me to build a hierarchical classification system and deploy it in production much faster compared to a situation where you would have to develop each one of your classes from scratch. A very interesting feature is ability to generate classification alternatives. So not only docAlpha can show you what was the result of classification, but it can also tell you were there any alternatives or not. Maybe this looks like as a warrant from a court, but it also looks like a subpoena. So it will show you why it looks like a warrant and why it looks like subpoena and why it selected it to be a warrant. So it can tell you not only the final result of the classification, but it can visualize for the operator the possible alternatives and let operator do the final decision on those alternatives. Special classification confirmation mode visualizes all those classification clues, the confidence of different clues, as well as the details for the alternative classifications. It's quite an easy-to-use classification system. In fact, it utilizes the same simple capture interface as is used throughout the docAlpha system for doing verification, validation, quality control. So that station, the universal concurrent station that can be started in multiple different roles, one of those roles can be actually a classification confirmation station, which displays all those hints. And so operators don't have to be retrained. They can be working on a very familiar interface and very user-friendly interface. There is also more in reliability that the system brings compared to manual classification. Typically, manual classification process, people get tired as they do that, as they go through the pre-sorting, and typically there is about 1 or 1.5% of error rate in the manual classification. With automation, you can get a lot better than that. You can have much, much fewer errors in classification, in order of 10 or 20 quite often. So that not only makes it faster, but it makes it more reliable. Then the classification through docAlpha works in a batch mode. So it's a tightly controlled batch processing, which is very friendly to high volume requirements of large companies' processing. When you put those things together, you get a fast and direct return of investment because you're reducing your manual labor. On the front end, the time to handle the documents prior to scanning is reduced greatly. And that also means that you can actually get the documents into the system faster from the moment of receiving them. So if you're talking about classification as part of your accounts payable processing, for example, you can utilize that to get such benefits as early payment discounts, for example. It easily integrates in your document workflow. If you're already using docAlpha, using a classification is very natural with it. It's part of any workflow. It's part of any task that you're setting up. You can just turn it on by adding more than one document class. As soon as you do so, docAlpha will automatically turn on classification for you. If you're not using the docAlpha yet and you want to start from a classification job, then setting up a classification set of documents is actually the most simple task. It's quicker to do than even a typical capture job, and it means that there is a faster adoption rate, and integration doesn't take long. It typically takes a couple of days to integrate that system into a production workflow. I'll spend some time on architecture on this slide, and then we'll be ready for the demo. As I mentioned, docAlpha is a distributed client server, and the server role in this architecture is to centralize the control, the management, the security, and to do the workload balancing between the stations. The station's role is to process the documents. Some stations are user-based, for example, that universal concurrent station, and then some stations are fully automatic, typically run on server end, such as auto-registration, recognition, or export. A typical workflow would start at a scan station or auto-registration station, or maybe both. A scan station is used to drive an attached scanning device, control the scanning process, do some cleanup right in the scanning, preview the document, and then register a batch. Auto-registration station is an automatic alternative to that. Auto-registration station allows you to monitor many possible source locations from where you're expecting to receive documents. For example, I can be monitoring my local network folders or maybe my VPN network folders for any documents scanned in by scanners and MFP devices. Or I can be monitoring FTP